Now moving on to natural timbers. Natural timber basically is your natural wood. So you can have a color that looks like this. So this is lighter in color. However, this on the other hand is darker in color. Okay, this is from a hardwood and this is from a softwood. So you can choose which classification of wood you would like to use. So this is a sub classification, whether you would like to use something like oak or pine or something like teak or shisham. So you have an option over there to decide what kind of color coding you would like to do. So let's say we are going to be using pine. Now for that, what you will have to do is you will need the previously shown two colors, the yellow and the brown. So what you can try doing is that you start first with the darker shade, okay, but you don't directly color the whole thing dark. So what you will have to keep in mind is that there is something called grain structure on wood. So let me show you how that looks and then we'll take it forward from there. So here we have a block of wood. So you can notice the chunky block of wood. And these are the grains that you end up seeing on it. Now this wood was actually vertical. So let me see if I can place it slightly vertical for you. Now if you notice, these are called your annual rings. Now these define how old a tree is, which also means that if this wood was parked vertically over here, it would show you how the so-called stem has slowly grown wider and wider till it became this bulky tree from which one of these blocks have been cut out. So somewhere here was the center and slowly the pine tree has grown wider. So that is how you see the annual rings. And if you notice, each annual ring, when it reaches the corner, becomes a straighter line. But here you can also notice that rather than being a straight line throughout, so let's say we look over here, this line has not been broken. However, these three have been given these continuations. Now these continuations come over here, form a very random shape, and then they move forward. This happens if you have something like this in the middle. This is called a knot. This happens when a tree's branch comes out of here. So if this becomes a really highly concentrated piece, you have to work with this very carefully, otherwise this will pop out. So this is like a problem with wood. So similar to this wood maybe warping in a particular direction or cracking, or if there is some insects that have kind of nested within this wood. So you notice over here you see a crack also. So those are the blemishes in wood. However, we are not bothered so much with that. We only want to understand how this knot works. So the thing is, if there's a knot, then the shape of your so-called grains change. So I will show you how that can be shown both in 2D as well as 3D.